All right. Hey, welcome to another edition of JTJU. And this one-off, we're going to talk about how we call attacks in Clan Wars. And specifically, what we're using right now is a tool called ClashCaller.com. So I'll walk you through that tool and also how we're using it. But before I do that, let me talk about what we used to do and maybe why that's could work for some of you better, but we'll see. And basically, that was a rule-based system. We'd say, well, with first attacks, we'd break up the clan. We'd say the top five have to attack their number times two. The bottom five have to attack in place, hit the number that they are, and right away, and then do their second attack right after that. Bottom 6 to 10. Uh, so actually, yeah, so the bottom 6 to 10, so it's the next five down from the bottom, would wait to see how the bottom five did and clean up if they had to, or wait for cleanup, and the rest of the clan would be plus five. Kind of complicated, but once you get rolling with it, the clan kind of figures out how it works. Um, and it's a kind of a clean model, right? You're getting a little bit of advantage. You're hitting down a little bit with the plus five. So like if you're 16, you hit 21. So you get a little bit of advantage. We're trying to make sure people don't get too carried away in how awesome they are and constantly overachieve and fail. And then the second attack holds to let the first attacks complete for 12 hours. And then in the second 12-hour window of battle, the second attacks start happening, more of a around the plus five number, but more flexible. You're looking for where you want to be, but be in that range, and you just kind of go from that view. Now, that worked pretty well, but what it wasn't doing good was allowing people to plan out their second attacks. And also it was a little bit fuzzy on the, as you can see, with the bottom side. So people, especially in the second attacks, weren't able to like say, I'm going to hit 38 and then spend 3 hours building their army, then come back and 38 might be gone. And they're like, what? And constantly everywhere. It's always it's yip about how so and so took my base. So to get around that and try to get a little better at planning out attacks and talking about attacks, we were introduced to and decided to try and found it worked pretty well, the tool called Clash Caller. And you can see right here, this is a one was already set up, but we'll set up a new one. This is basically Clash Caller. It's not too complicated. And anytime you create a new war, let's go through the process of what happens. So somebody in your clan will be the setter upper guy. War is created, you get matched with somebody, they come out here right away and they will do this. They'll key in your name, the enemy's name, enemy evil, the size of the clan. Let's say it was a small war. Let's say it was 10 people. And you always want to, usually this is hidden, but you always want to click more options. And that's because number one, you want to set a timer, I would suggest. If you do not set a timer, when you call something, like if I call number five, I get that call. Nobody can call it. Well, you could, but I'm first in line until I update that call and say, hey, I did the attack and here was the result. But with a timer, which either is a fixed time, like, oh, you get 3 hours, Tim, or a flexible time, which is tied to how long is left in the battle phase, which is what we do. We used to do half of the battle phase, so half flex timer. So at the beginning of the war would be a 12-hour call because the battle phase is 24 hours. But whichever timer you want to use, I would definitely recommend using one. And the other thing you can do, let me go down to the bottom here. This archive is the next thing I suggest clicking. What it does is allows you to see this search button up here. All of your wars that you use Clash Caller for can be archived much longer than what Supercell provides for. So, or at least Red, the developer, has indicated that you can go out there and maybe 3 months from now look back and see all of your wars that were in Clash Caller and a lot of detail around them. And I'll show you here in a minute. So if you click archive, that happens. If you do not, then after the war is done, there's a URL you get for a war. After a while, if you're not using it, Red basically will delete that off, and your war is gone forever. So click archive if you want to look at it later. Now you can enter your clan ID and the enemy clan ID. Here's the benefit of that. If you enter your clan ID, it allows you to search by that as well as by your name by default. Uh, and then if you enter in your enemy clan ID and you can it's just kind of it helps them know that if they're fighting you and they're using Clash Caller, they'll see the data you're keying in terms of like stars. So it adds a little bit more information for you or for them. So it's kind of a nice thing to put in the enemy clan ID, but you don't have to. But we put in both. So we put in I won't do it here, and I won't click archive because it's a test. But let's go ahead and hit submit. So here's what the person would see as soon as they hit submit, and they're talking on clan chat, and they're like, "All right, guys, I set up Clash Caller. It's YJDP6," and then everybody's gonna get that right, and they'll type that in clan chat, and then what people will do is they'll go out to Clash Caller, and they'll click Join War, paste the code in, and they're in the same environment that you are. Same war will show up in a minute. So while that's in some there's there it is. So there you see JTJ enemy test evil. So 2 people now from our clan are in theory. And then what we'll do is usually people that are kind of have time will do a couple. Here's what you can do. Let me just tell you what you can do in there, and people can set it up. So one thing you can do in it is you can click on the timer right there, and you can change the time to sync it up better with your game itself. But it'll be pretty accurate. I usually don't change this unless I've had to restart or recreate the game in Clash Caller. But you can either set the time. This is when it says starts. This is the countdown timer of the prep phase, so 24 hours remain in the prep phase. Or you can say ends. That's the time remaining in the battle phase. So depending on where you are at in the war, you can change the timer, and that's important because this time is used to set the timers for flexible timers, right? The other thing you can do is you can add notes by base, which we use to communicate suggestion. Like we have people that are kind of coaching in our clan around how to attack a given base the best. So they'll put notes out there about, hey, use this style and these tactics, and so on. So you could use the base notes to do that. And then in addition, if you hit the plus sign, what that is doing is it's actually creating a call. Oh wait, before I say that, if you hit the number, you can put in the enemy's name just for aesthetics. So we'll just say bad man. And I'm going to call number 2 gnome. So you can create their names, but that really doesn't do much besides just, adds a little bit of flavor. But then the calls are actually where you'll say, oh, okay, Rhyhorn, like I come in, I'm like, I'm calling Bad Man. I'm taking him out. So I'll be like, Rhyhorn. And now at this point, I've created a call. And let's say at the same time Dig comes in. Oh, here, let me show you from the other side. So if I come over here and let's say I type in Dig, Dig's in his own thing, and it's a guy in our clan, and he's calling this guy. And he's like, I'm calling number 2. And his name is Fred Flintstone. Oh, but he's like, whoa, wait a minute. Okay, Rhyhorn, get in. It's actually no, my bad. Now, if I go back over here, you'll see that once I refresh, Dig is going to show up on my side. But anyway, so the call is there. Notice how the timer, oh, there it came in. The timer has not started yet. See how it says called? That's because we're still in the prep phase, which is tied to this timer up above. And so multiple people can call. Usually, though, we limit it to 1 call per base that's active, meaning either the timer's running or you're waiting. Once it's expired, we may stack 2, but usually we try to keep it. We don't need a big traffic jam of calls. But then once the war starts, let's pretend. Oh, and by the way, let's pretend our tree nodes. So tree note blah. So you might say use BDFT, whatever. And so that's a strategy recommendation. And I tell Dig, I'm like, Diggs, man, tree read. The one tree is our decision matrix for how we call stuff. I would say, hey man, this is a go wee whatever. And I might tell him, here's why, here's how to do it. La 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 la. And so Diggs would read that. So now the war starts, right? And so you don't need to do this part. What I'm doing, I'm just moving it forward in time. It'll automatically do this by itself. But so the war has now started. Notice the timers will be active. See how this became, let me zoom on this a little bit. See how the timers are 11 hours, 59 minutes because we're at half flex time. So it's 24 hours in the period. Half of that is 12, and we're counting down. So this would count down for 12 hours, and then when it got to the end of 12 hours, it would say expired, right? So let's say I make my attack, and me being me, I whiff, right? Awesome. And then like some of our coaches come by, and they're like, dude, let me give you some notes on that Rhyhorn. post-attack notes. This was horrible due to XYZ and fix ABC. So everybody can see that now, me and everybody else. So as they look at replays and look out here, they can get a sense for, great attacks, notes about what's great about it, or bad attacks from people that they want to hear from in the clan. Because, it's a timing thing. It's 50 people in a clan. They may not be online when you're online, but they might have comments for you. Now you can use ClashCaller to communicate that. So there's notes by, so now I have two note types, note by base and notes by attack. Base notes, once archived, will not be kept. You can't see them anymore. But attack notes by attack can be seen. So factor that in. You can add more people could come in. It's like, let's say there's a guy in our clan named Alaska. He might come in now and do the next call and see how his timer starts at the same 11 hours 59 minutes because we really haven't gone very far into the time. Now if I change it and said, well, there's only 12 hours left, notice how it's 6. So anyway, you kind of see the flex timer working there. And let's say then, well, that's really all you need to know about that. Let's say Diggs does an attack, and he gets 2, and so on. And you just keep going until the end of the war. One thing you can do during the war is you can kind of see score. So it's adding up your stars for you. So we have, let's see then if Alaska attacked and he got 2, right? Now we come in here, now it's 4. One thing you can do with enemy stars, now remember, if you keyed in the enemy CCID and they're using ClashCaller, this will automatically populate, I think. Never seen it happen. Otherwise, if you're anal, we never remember to do this, but if you wanted to, you can always be periodically through the war keying in. Oh my god, they've scored a perfect score. I forget how many people in this war. 30. They've scored 30. Oh great, we're screwed, right? But you can put in their star number sometimes. Or not. So that one didn't come. It usually works. Sometimes it takes a little while to update. But anyway, so then he has a couple little interesting attributes like hard hitters is 2, 3 stars, and then in the war, Assassins is 1 star on the first. They had 1 overall. Blah blah blah. Different misses, guys that totally whiffed like me. Attacks per target is the one thing I do use, in that it shows you which bases need to be getting more coaching, like more notes on the base and more talk in the clan chat about how to do it, because clearly it's not working. And then further down, I'm not going to scroll my thing up, but because I'm stuck. But further down, there's like a list of everybody in the clan that's attacked and like a weighted power number based on where the stars they've gotten versus where in the map they attacked. But I mean, it's if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. So that's something you can check out too. It's a little further down. So going back over, so that's what a war looks like, right? In test. And then if you get done with the war, so let's close this out and go to ClashCaller, you can search for archived attacks either by name or by number, or your class ID, I mean. So JTJ. So there's some of our wars in ClashCaller. And if you click on one war, you'll see that you have, for the clan, you'll have the list of wars and then the roster of people that have fought in your clan for you at that point. And that's by name. Now we do this weird thing in our clan with suffixes to try to help us with our one tree decision model. Ignore that. If you are careful and use the same name exactly for a person all the time, then they will get something like Mitchie here with 13. See how he has 13 attacks? If you click on his view player, it's a player card, so every attack tied to that name is shown. And you can then click from that attack to the war page. You can also see the notes of the attack. So for players, it might be of interest. But, and that's, remember, of the two. There was the base attack, which I told you didn't get saved in archive, and then the attack level notes, which do. But if I go back to clan, what we use this a lot for is to kind of go back at the war level. And notice one thing Red, the developer, is working on is the win-loss thing isn't right. Like we beat Iowa 116 to something, but for some reason it's saying loss. So right now you have to ignore whether this is win or loss. I'm sure he'll get that working at some point. And the ability to edit. Right now you can't edit the enemy stars after the war. So if you forget to do it, it's kind of hard to make this reflective of did you win or lose, but I'm assuming at some point he'll fix that. But either way, the most important thing that's really valuable is you can now go back much farther than Supercell allows you to do in your war history and see, like let's say, well, this is our last one, the full detail of who attacked what, how many stars they got, and notes that were said by the attack. La 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 la, right? It also tells you at the bottom of the page the change log history. That's what this is. So every time a change is made to the war, you can see that. Maybe use it for fixing disgruntled people that come in and delete stuff. Because remember, anybody can change this. So if they get unhappy, you have some trouble in your hands. You may have to recreate. So again, I wouldn't try to I wouldn't kick anybody out during wars if you're using Clashcaller and doing a lot of updates. I'd wait till the end. But anyway, this is pretty valuable, at least to us. We until now we kind of forgot wars. We don't know exactly what our war log is beyond what's shown in the tool. Well, we do. We have pieces of it, but this is a much more detailed view of it, even with that. So it's a big perk that you can kind of see that. And then, oh, by the way, if you click on the name, again to the profile, right? So it's kind of a nice from player profile back to war, back to different war. Can't really tell which war it is, but let's try this war. Arena guys. Anyway, you can move around between. So at this point, you kind of understand like, okay, so Clashcaller lets me create a war, lets me join a war, I can search about a war. This is all good. The process that I was kind of walking you through that we use to kind of do it is this. If you want to pause and I won't read it to you, but if you want to pause and zoom in, go ahead. But this is kind of like how we're currently using Clashcaller in terms of this, the questions or the techniques we're using. We're a Town Hall 7 to Town Hall 10 clan. You could create similar rules for yourself. But at the end of the day, I think Clashcaller is a great tool. I think for what it does, and it's free. Red's done a great job and created a great product, and he continues to work on it. It's slow sometimes because of load, but he recently upgraded the servers. But if you're patient and you wait, your updates always get through, it seems to me, and I think it's worth using. So hopefully this helps you guys out. Let me know if you have questions or comments down below in YouTube. Talk to you later.